It's 7 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. We only have one edit for the agenda, and that's the Babes catering permit is for 6/27, not 6/28. Besides that, I need a motion to approve or any other edits with the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And our first appointment is Sergeant Austin Sewell of the VSP to answer any questions we might have.
Hi. Yeah, sure. That'd be great. Yeah. I was the one you were emailing, Austin. Yeah, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Just a little bit about myself. I've been with VSD for about 10 years, but I've only been up at the road barracks for the last year and a few months. But I'm pretty familiar with the area. I grew up not too far from here. I have family locally here too. So a little bit about what we've been trying to do over the last year, specifically in town. We hear your complaints about some houses, and we've tried to do something about that. And I would say we executed 3 warrants on 3, what I would say, problem houses. And those houses are no longer problems, which has been great, at least to the low scale they were. And a lot of that has to do with you folk and people in the town. Like, continue to call us. We might not be able to do something in the moment, but know that like it's a bigger picture, and it turns into us, right? Like, for instance, Christian Hill had been a problem for the town for a long time, right? I was up there the other day, and there was no one living there. Right?
Really? Nice.
I mean, that's probably not permanent, but right there, because we'd be naive to think that it's just going to go away. But we are going to keep trying our best, right? And a lot of that, when it comes to information that we're getting, it's helpful to have the towns. It's that constant, because if we have that constant feedback, then we can kind of push things. We can get some more resources to put things together, and hopefully make some things happen, which I would like to say we've done pretty well. We've almost, so this has nothing to do with my tenure at the barracks, but the 12 months before I arrived, and after that I started keeping track of things. We've doubled our arrests in the town of Bethel specifically. I think we're just trying to have a little bit more of a presence. We're right here, like it's pretty easy for us. I tell you, some of my neighbors have had arrests as they're more or less coming out of the barracks driveway. So hopefully you guys are noticing our presence a little bit. And anything that you are having issues with speeding and things like that, like we said, we're trying to be present in, I would say Bethel is one of our busier towns regardless for call volume. Bethel, Worthing, and then Randolph. So we just happen to be in the area a lot. Our staffing is pretty good compared to, obviously nationwide. Law enforcement isn't in the best places when it comes to staffing. But our barracks is pretty good. We have a bunch of really motivated troopers. A younger group mixed in with some more experienced folks, and they're excited to get out there and actually work. Any questions or things of concern that you want to float to me out from here? Pass that along to my colleagues.
We have our own neighborhood cop where I live. Jake Clark is my neighbor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, nice guy.
Yeah, he's part of the young group of motivated people that we're excited to have. So.
I'd say we're very thankful for all you've done since you got here. It's definitely been noticeable that things changed hands. And everything that has been going on and cranking down on.
We could walk on the road again.
Yeah, ride bikes.
And so I will say, right, like I said, we would be naive to think that what's going to happen, right, they pop up somewhere else, obviously, right? So like a Gage Road was the first house that we addressed, not for any particular reason, it just presented itself. And I would say if you live in that area, you probably notice a significant decrease. And I can say that confidently because we don't get the calls that we used to of people walking along the side of the road or weird cars at weird times of the night and things like that. Once again, a lot of times what happens though is like that could, you know, folks that are associated with that house are gonna pop up now in Braintree or something, you know, like it's just the nature of the game.
Yeah.
But that's also my job security. So we'll keep chasing. And once
Maybe
again,
you'll
like,
chase them out of your area.
yes, I mean, once again, that would be ideal. But the other thing too is these things kind of start up, and if we might not notice, right? It might be very minimal. So that's where like the calls from the community are going to make a difference. And like I said, it might not always be that we're going to be right there to do something, but it's noted, and it's something like we are paying attention, and we are compiling everything, and the information is helpful, right? Because when we start, maybe I don't see the car, we'll use Christian Hill because it was such a well-known, maybe I don't find that car that day, but if I know to look for that car in the future, that can be beneficial. So I know it can be, I want to say it, annoying but frustrating when, you know, it seems like maybe we're not doing everything we can do, as well as, you know, we obviously have limited control over what happens after we arrest folks, which a lot of the community members across the state are a little frustrated with that right now. That is also frustrating for us, but digress on that.
Do you have how does that work? I mean, as far as the state police, obviously, you know, Representative Kirk White is here. I know that, you know, one of the conversations that Jordan and everybody want to have is about bail reform. Who advocates do you have for the VSP? Like, do you have someone who does that for you? Or, I mean, is it like Lieutenant Parton and all these guys are talking and gals talking to, you know, legislators? I'm sure that you're all as frustrated with the lack of bail reform as the rest of us.
I will say, like, I do think a lot of people do the best that they can do.
Sure.
You know, regardless. My understanding of that is when we do present to the legislators, there are certain representatives from our department, whether it be, you know, lieutenants or above or something like that, and they do present kind of where we're coming from. I don't know specifically about the reform.
Yep.
Because that's just a little above my table.
Sure.
But I do think, I don't know if I can say that there's been like a shift, but we're going to keep doing what we're doing. And
Right.
kind of once, maybe the state wants to help us out a little, that'd be great.
And hearing the frustration, I'm sure that a lot of communities have. Obviously, Bethel's not alone with that. When you have someone ticketed or cited and you do this big bust and you see that and then they're out and you're like, you know, it's just really frustrating, especially when you have multiple. And I'm not even a police officer, so I imagine it's probably more frustrating
And
for you.
honestly, it's probably more frustrating for the community, right? I get paid to do everything I do.
Right.
I remind people that all the time. People that go in front of them in line, I'm like, I'm getting paid to stay here.
Yeah.
So, you know, and we try to remind ourselves that, like, yeah, it's frustrating, but you know, this is my job.
Yep.
And I feel more for the community. I want the community to feel safe. And obviously, if we can move in a direction that helps that, then that's great.
Yep.
And
It's a good attitude.
I think you know, I've had
Ellie has a
conversations
question.
with the town board about this, and just overall, a better understanding maybe of how the system works too is, right, we arrest someone depending on what the crime is. So let's say like a domestic assault, right, just to get away from the drug world for a second. They get conditions from the judge or the court clerk, and then they would get a court date, which is usually in that situation the next day. We call that a flashlight. And sometimes they get held on bail, sometimes they don't. I do think, from my experience, most of the time when people are held on bail, regardless of the amount, for the most part, people don't bail out, just because it's the state of Vermont, where, like, you know, we bring people to Springfield, and that's kind of far from here, so they're probably not getting someone to drive down there and bail them out. But other parts of the state, obviously, it's a little more convenient. So if they're given bail, they have the opportunity to bail out, or they just go to the court.
Well, there was the guy that got caught on Christian Hill, took off running, and they tackled him, arrested him, brought him back, went to court the next morning, and the judge, he had $20,000 in federal warrants and outstanding warrants, and they just, the judge was like, well, I don't see a reason to hold you here, and just let him go, no bail.
Yeah, and each situation obviously is different, so I don't know exactly what happened with that. And I can tell you too that we certainly deal with folks on a regular basis that might have warrants out of state and things like that, but they aren't considered extraditable by the state of Vermont. So that has nothing to do with the judges or anything like that. That's just how the law is.
Yeah.
As well as like other states aren't willing to extradite people sometimes, depending on the severity of the crime. So,
I think everyone's been really happy with what's going on. I would say the only thing I've heard that is kind of frustrating is dispatch and calling in and getting treated poorly from dispatch, trying to get help.
I will pass that along. We try to work closely with them, and obviously, just like any profession, some people are better than others, some people are happier than others, some people have bad days, some people have good days, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But that feedback is extremely beneficial, and I'll make sure as a supervisor, I have a working relationship with their supervisor, so
Yeah. I have a lot of people that are like, I'm like, well, call in, and they want me to take care of it, and I'm like, well, you call in, and it helps that other people are calling. They're like, no, I called in, and, got treated poorly, and I just don't have any interest.
I'll
So-
ensure that is addressed.
It'd definitely be cool to work on.
May I ask a question? Are you concerned, or I'm curious about a house on North Road that's been, is that,
On our radar.
is
It's
it?
fun, so I met with Barnard, because it's
Is it-
technically in Barnard.
That's what I wanted.
And honestly, though, and I'll say this because I told them this, because of its location and the fact that most of the traffic that might be involved with that residence, they're probably not looking to go further into Barnard, right? A lot of folks that we do arrest associated with that end up being in Bethel, just because it's only, it's a stone's throw from, it's like that little sliver of Royalton comes out on the North Road and then it turns into Bethel, and it's like right on the other side of that in the town of Barnard. But it has certainly probably calmed down a little is what I would say. But some of that is because of the activity at these other houses, and some of those folks actually did go to jail for quite a long time. Some of those folks are still in prison from the Gage Hill search warrant we did. I believe there's still folks in prison from that, which is a good sign, I guess, right, that they are being held accountable. And so yeah, that address and location is on our radar. Unfortunately, too, Bethel is kind of like the center of a lot of these, right? Like if you put Bethel in the center of that, the map, and like where we have maybe some locations that we're aware of, you kind of have to drive through Bethel to get to all of them, depending on where you're coming from.
Well, I was just curious because it's near where I live.
Okay. Well, so I'm also aware that I think the sheriff's actually handled the initial call, and obviously we have a pretty good relationship with your current fire chief. So there were some break-ins, right, or car break-ins right along
Yeah,
River Street,
Yep.
and including his residence.
Yep.
So that's something, right, when we have those types of things, obviously we say like, oh, what's the closest problem area? And that's really not that far from there either. Mind you, for a while, there were some problem areas right in the middle of town there that, nothing was that far from. So, and they will pop up. Like, it's unfortunately, our state has an opiate problem, right? And that typically drives the petty thefts and the burglaries and things like that. But they seem to come in waves. And that's also just a friendly reminder to everyone you know, this is not, I grew up in Vermont, this is not the Vermont that we grew up in, right? We need to be locking our doors, locking our cars at night. You know, I argue with quite a few people about this, and it's just, there's no, because a lot of times too, it's difficult to catch these people, unless you have camera systems which are beneficial and things like that. When someone opens your car door alongside River Road and we don't have any camera footage of it, unless we catch them in the act, it's, you know, or someone else sees them, it can be difficult. That being said, the way we catch these people is every time you call in, we investigate it, and eventually we catch them, and then typically they own up to everything they did. Not always the case, but yeah. Any other areas? Any like speeding? Everyone drives fast everywhere, but
Camp Brook,
okay.
it's just,
They're
yeah,
having a hard time that road is falling apart. If you're
I know.
speeding up there, you're ruining your car.
well, Rochester is doing some paving on their side, but we're doing some patching up there this week, and I already called the sheriff's office to ask them if they could put somebody on it, because it's so crazy. And we also went up this week last week, and made sure that there were speed signs up there on both sides of the road to make sure that it was properly signed. And I'd worked with the state 2 years ago to make sure other signage was done, but people just flying down there. It's crazy. And, you know, I would certainly never want to walk on it. And as someone, I mean, I'm the road commissioner, I've been on that road, and you're just like ready to jump out because they're not slowing for you. So certainly Camp Brook is, because they can pick up speed. That's a 6-mile shoot down. So, so that's a big one for sure. Is definitely Camp Brook.
Yeah, and we leave these meetings at night and they come right off Main Street and they just blow through that stop sign.
Yeah, so I mean,
You know, hauling.
I will say we sit right here, quite a bit, and people tend to not like the stop signs right in this area.
That's true.
So I'll make sure we can do something about that.
Yeah, it's just nice to, you know, and obviously we have residents that live there, and it's really difficult. I'm sure they can't let their children out or any, you know, you don't want to be anywhere near the road. And I mean, it's crazy too. After the flood, we had a big sinkhole up there, and someone stole our sign package. They'd steal cones. We went up once and they'd stacked 14 cones in the hole. We finally just kind of bought and nailed them to the pavement. And we even had the stop signs, you know, the flashing temporary traffic lights. And I don't know, but it's really crazy. So I certainly feel really bad for the residents that live on Camp Brook, because speeding is such an issue.
And I know you folks have a contract with the Sheriff's Department.
Yeah.
We work very well with the Sheriff's Department.
Yes, we know.
Support
Thank
the
you.
Sheriff's Department.
Yep.
Like, we can't be everywhere, so the fact that you do have a contract is very helpful.
And when Oscar Gardner comes from work,
Yeah.
with his Royalton Police,
Yeah.
I lived up on Camp Brook Road for a while, and he was always pulling people over, which was great.
Yeah, it's a little handy.
Yeah, and so certainly, just the Sheriff's Department in general, like I said, we're supportive of what they're trying to do and the contracts that they maintain. And, you know, if we can help them and they help us, it's a good working relationship.
Well, thank you for your service, and thank you so much for coming tonight and talking to everybody. It was nice to have you reach out. Usually I just end up talking to Larry Parton, or to Jerry Parton, so.
And if anybody has any issues, you can feel free to reach out to our barracks. And, you know, like I said, we have a really motivated group of folks that we're trying to get out there and actually make a difference. So sometimes it feels like an uphill battle, but like I said, we get paid to do it. And that's kind of the barracks mentality right now, is to be, you know, do what our job entails and when we sign up for it, and keep driving forward every day. So
Did I see you guys just got an award for VSP?
I don't know if we did.
Not generally you, but for New England, VSP took.
I think it was our drug
Yeah.
unit did, which obviously they've also been a huge help with all this. And that's where I say, like, those are the resources that we can try to
Excuse me.
these things, because they certainly are usually like experts.
You
with
brought quite a group up on Christian Hill. I saw it all go by the house.
That was a interesting day. And it was, I also, right, like, I don't want to stand up here and seem like we're hunting these bad guys. Like, I do feel bad for their situations, right? Like, these people have lives that are ruined, and they have houses that are no longer as beautiful as they used to be, and, you know, it is sad for everyone involved, really. That being said, hopefully our state's moving in a direction where we find that line of helping people, but also holding people accountable. So the unfortunate thing for this area is we don't have a ton of like rehabs and things like that. But hopefully if we can crack down on some of these houses, maybe even if it helps one person, right, that's a step in the right direction. So.
You mentioned it being helpful getting sort of tips and things. So what's the most valuable or actionable information you receive, or that you prefer?
So we do have, there's a tip line, like a online tip website through the Vermont State Police website. That might be the easiest as far as you can do it anonymously, and they get to us every time. Like I probably, at least like a few times a week, I'll get an email that it's like, you know, this is going on in your coverage area. Some of them are useful. Some people just need to complain, to be honest. Like it's just, it makes us all feel better, right? Like it's mental, right?
Yep.
So that's an easy way. Just calling the barracks, and even like a lot of times too, if you were to call and say like people are, you know, speeding on, you know, Main Street, then dispatch would just send an email to everyone or call me, and then I'd send an email to the barracks saying, hey, let's do some speed enforcement on Main Street. We get things that are very specific for tips. We get things that are as vague as like, you know, speeding on camera, that we need to just have a presence in the general area. And, you know, the smallest thing could be helpful. So, you know, feel free, especially online, you're not gonna, I don't mean this in the way it's gonna sound, but you're not gonna bother anyone if you do an online tip, right? Versus like when you call in, and I'm not discouraging you to call in, but you might not feel as, I don't wanna say received, but like, if there's other things going on, it might not be as big of a priority to listen to a speeding complaint, right? So when you submit that, know that it does go somewhere. Like it's not just off into the internet. Like we see it every time, and we take those into account.
Is that tip line easily available?
Should be right on our VSP website.
Okay.
But yeah, and calling though is good too, because you can get a little more information. It's easier to talk to people than to read a message sometimes. But yeah, anything else?
Comment.
Yeah.
You mentioned you doubled your arrests. What types of arrests count for the doubling? Is it just drug enforcement, or are there others?
No, I would say drug enforcement was a part of it. DUIs certainly have been. We have a couple troopers that are very motivated to go out and get DUIs, and that has increased significantly in our total coverage area, but I'll be honest, quite a bit in Bethel. And then we'll always have the normal calls for service, like trespassing, things like that, domestics. But I would say proactively, that's why it doubled, is our proactive, whether that's, you know, drug arrests from traffic stops, drug arrests from our search warrants on residents, or, you know, DUIs or DUI drugs. That's probably, I feel very confident saying that's why we doubled, is because we went from, and this has nothing to do once again with me or the people that worked there before, they're all great, but we just had a little shift in our proactive mindset that probably produced a few more proactive traffic stop arrests in town. So a lot of them get said right in front of there, which technically, but sheriffs. A lot of times when I drive through the night, I see them too, so we try to be present. We just can't be everywhere at once, but I know we probably pester some people on Main Street a little bit. But, you know, and honestly, if you're not doing anything wrong, you're gonna get your paperwork and go on your way. And if you're doing something wrong, we're gonna address it, and then because of our bail reform system, you're gonna still go on your way. So just a little bit slower. And I can guarantee you our job is not to ruin your life. We just want to make sure everyone's safe.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. So
Yeah.
If you have any questions or you can, feel free to give me a call.
I will. Thank you. Thank you, Oscar. Or
Yeah, I would.
Sergeant. Take care. Thank you, Sergeant.
What's that?
We'll give him a call and connect with
Yeah,
him.
yeah, go for it.
While Kirk gets going.
Our next appointment is Kurt White to update us on the legislative session.
Which is still going, right? It's Kirk's like, we're not ending. Sure, yes, yes. Finn is nodding his head yes. So we have to do whatever Finn says, so.
He runs the meeting.
Yeah, for those who don't know me, I represent Kirk White. I am your representative. And you asked me to come.
I
and
did.
I brought a 30-page summary of about 40 of the 78 bills that passed. And then I also am able to update you on, if you have any questions around the process of bail reform.
There you go. I emailed Kurt. I said, because he said, what topics? I said, bail reform.
H411, where it was in
What?
H411. It's in judiciary now.
411?
Yep, and that's all on bail reform. I contacted my person at the governor's office, and he sent me 411.
411, because I know.
Maybe they changed the
I know
number.
409.
It could be a 409. There's a 411 as well. That it's 82 pages dealing with bail reform and all kinds of fun stuff.
So, do you want me to start there? Do you want me to talk about the other bigger stuff first? What do you want me to do?
Probably you can't, but my biggest thing is H454.
Is what?
H454.
Oh,
that
yeah.
education?
The education bill? I have.
Oh, boy.
The short answer is it's still being negotiated. It's in what's called a committee of confidence. The governor sort of laid out a few things that he wanted in education reform. The House took that, they built off from that, they came up with a number of proposals, some of which is around the financing of education. And a number of it is about how to consolidate our educational system. And so the House came up with their kind of approach to it. The Senate came up with their approach to it. The two have some huge disagreements.
See how politically correct he is.
Get that ready.
My view is that we're going to get the worst of both worlds. Because all three approaches, the governors, the House, and the Senate, are all involved closing small schools.
I'm really concerned myself that I don't know what they're doing up there, but they've completely forgotten about rural Vermont. Rural Vermont is just thrown away.
Yeah.
If you live in Burlington or Bennington or Rutland or Montpelier, you're okay.
Yeah.
But if you're not in those towns, we're going to.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've been fighting for the small schools, small towns, trying to get them. Part of it started, I think, this is entirely just my opinion, but the governor laid out, said, my plan is close all the small schools. And I would say it because the mantra has been, bigger is better, bigger is cheaper. And so, frankly, because the House and Senate took a whacking when everybody's taxes went up last year.
That's right.
In particular, in the wealthy blue towns, their taxes really went up. So those Democrats have been like, okay, we got to walk careful. We got to give the governor a certain amount what he wants. And so they started with the premise, bigger is better, bigger is cheaper. And so all of those people from Chittenden County and all those people from all the bigger cities and towns that are traditionally strong blue have been big backers of closing all the small schools. And so then truthfully, a lot of the Republicans from whatever size towns have been, well, we're backing the governor. Governor says close small schools. So there's sort of this coalition of people that want to close the small schools. And when you talk to them, you say, well, how do you actually, you say bigger is better, but do you actually have the numbers to prove that? Can you show that we're going to, that the cost of busing kids for an hour and a half is going to somehow save us money? And they say, well, we haven't done that study yet, right? Or when you say, well, if you're going to be putting them all into bigger schools, you're going to have to fix those schools, make those better, right? And again, the answer is usually, well, yeah, we're going to have a study to figure out how much that's going to cost. So there's no hard data that's actually going to save anyone any money. But it's built on the assumption bigger is better, bigger is cheaper. And, I went through and I said, if you're going to put a bunch of money into buildings, right? And you keep talking about one of the advantages of bigger schools, bigger classrooms, is that you have more kids, so there's more money in that school, and so there's also more educational opportunity for stuff like that. And I said, well, what if you instead took that money, put them into all these little small schools that don't have enough people in them already, and run the buses the other way, send the buses from the big schools to the small schools, and suddenly you fix that problem. And they all go, huh, now bigger's better. And so that's where it's coming from. And then there's the whole piece around, so the House, basically, part of their bill says that if you're a private school and you want to receive public tuition money, then you at least have to act like like public school. You have to have a certain, House said 51% of your students actually have to be public tuition-in students, and your kids have to pass the same tests, your teachers still have to have the same credentials, you have to do all that stuff, which to me makes sense, by the way.
The Senate trashed
but the chair of the Senate Education Committee was on the Board of Trustees for Burton for 18 years, and so you can see where his loyalties lie, and there's no way he's going to want to settle for anything that's going to make it harder on private schools to get public money. So they are battling it out as maybe even as we speak, putting in long days, trying to find where they can come to a compromise, because the governor has said you can't go home until you give me a bill that I will pass.
I don't hear from any one of them anything about what it's going to do to the kids.
Yeah, there's
not a lot of talk about that,
Yeah.
and I don't hear one single word about where can we cut costs.
Yeah.
The big elephant, healthcare.
Yeah, right?
Go after these people.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree. And I mean, I think there are a whole bunch of places where they could save money. Every school in the state buys toilet paper.
Right.
Right. You could probably get a good contract on that much toilet paper, and they could centralize their business offices so that all the teachers perhaps get paid out of the same business office. There's a lot of stuff they could do to save money and consolidate that stuff without closing small schools. But they're all operating on the assumption bigger is better. We need to close these small schools because the governor said so, and the Democrats are afraid to go against it. So that's basically where that stands. And so I voted for it every time it's come up in front of me, and I'm not for it. I vote against it, and I'm going to vote against it when it comes up on presumably June 16th, when is supposedly when they think they're going to have a
veto.
That's the deadline to get stuff organized. So that's where it stands. And I was talking to Jamie Canardi, and we were having this conversation. And I said, I mean, the only consolation is that no law is ever actually permanent. And that, yes, this will pass now, but next year is an election year. And if we can get all the small towns to come out and say, no, we don't want you closing our school, and we're going to vote accordingly, then perhaps we can get that legislation modified and get back some of that stuff. Because fortunately, it doesn't kick in immediately. There's a on-ramp. The governor has a really small on-ramp. The Senate has a bigger on-ramp. The House has the biggest on-ramp. And again, we'll see where they all compromise on that. But that's otherwise, I have no idea if there's 6 people sitting in a room arguing over this stuff.
Yeah, I got their emails and sent them a letter.
Good, that's good.
Yeah, so that's the education reform.
Well, that was actually a really good synopsis. I was like, oh boy, this is a tough one, but thank you. That's actually really good.
Other things?
Well, I know Jordan's issue, been talking about is bail reform, not just Jordan's issue, but it kind of goes on with what the sergeant was talking about. And you were prepared for bail reform, so.
I'm prepared at least with, I have to go and look up 411 now.
And I'm wondering if...
Because I asked the chair of House Judiciary, and he said 409. So, and this is the thing, you need to be aware that lots of times bills there are multiple versions of them get put into, they put a version in the Senate, they put one in the House, it's a thing so that you can, you have a variety of ways to leverage stuff. And
This one is an act relating to public safety.
Public safety, okay.
Which has got bail reform and all kinds
So
of
it's got a bunch of stuff on it.
All kinds
I wouldn't be surprised if this stuff is on that as well.
It could be, and they're all the sponsees and additional sponsees are all Republican, and I know that Governor Scott backs this.
And has it actually gotten any action at all?
It has,
First time in,
227, it was in committee, read first time and referred to the Judiciary Committee, and then on the 22nd of May, there was one little blip that happened that day. But I think what you had mentioned before,
If it's stuck in committee, it depends on the chair to get it out.
If the chair doesn't care for it. It said committee discussion at 11 o'clock. Jay Johnson, General Counsel from the Governor's Office, spoke.
Okay, yeah. So they basically just had someone from the Governor's Office come in and say, this is why we like what's in it. I think 409 is going to go further. I recommend that those of you who really care about this, if you go to the YouTube streaming, the videos are there, and you look at House Judiciary for, and it's 2025-03-13- and then there's a time. So on the 13th of March and also on the 12th of March in the morning, was when they were beginning to work on House Bill 409. And the first, on the 12th, what happens is, when you listen to it, is first, they always have. They have the legislative council comes in and explains the bill, right? Just says, this is what the bill is written to do. And then they start having people who are pro and con. And so later, after that, they have Rebecca Turner, who is supervising attorney in the appellate division for the Office of the Defender General. And she tells you 409 is absolutely illegal, it's against the Constitution, and it cannot pass. And she gives her reasons why. And the reasons why are this. So maybe I need to tell you what 409 is before I get any further.
something about being able to arrest those people who didn't respond to their bail without a warrant.
By the way, I do want to say, so House Bill 409 started, was the Department of Public Safety, that would be the state police, and came to the chair of the Judiciary Committee and said, we have some things we'd like to work on. And so that started in January, and it took them till middle of March to actually come up with the right language to put in it. But this is actually a bill that is being worked on by Judiciary with the state, which is why I say it has if they're working with the chair of the committee, it has a much better chance of moving forward. So it came from the governor's office. I'll read you the intent rather than just the summary. The intent is the intent of the General Assembly that its bail revocation statute, to revoke bail, consistent with case law and their progeny, so that repeated failures to appear in court, repeated violations of condition of release, and other violations of court orders constitute a compelling state interest that falls within the statutory definition of disrupts the prosecution. Right? Constitutionally, there are two things going on. One, everyone gets due process, right? You're entitled to due process. And any try to narrow that down, close that down, courts are going to overturn it. The other piece is that constitutionally, federal constitutionally, not state constitutionally, both these, is that bail cannot be used to hold people indefinitely. There are very specific reasons why bail can be used. One is basically risk of flight, and another is that they may be a harm, like a physical harm, not they break into my house, but rather they might kill me. Risk of danger like that. And then there's this thing called disrupts the prosecution. And so what they're trying to do is find a way to slide this bail reform into disrupts the prosecution. And so already the Defender General is saying, no, that's not going to be constitutional. We'll see. So, but that's what they're trying to do. And the idea is basically to have a procedure where you can revoke defendants' bail or conditions of release. That basically, we gave you bail, you got out, you did a bad thing, now you don't get bail. Now you're going to be held till you're that they have a compelling reason to keep you in jail because you can't be trusted. So that's the goal, that's the purpose. Now, so on that day, I told you that happened. Then the following day, the Tucker Jones, the General Counsel for the Department of Public Safety, came in and he lays out the problem. It's going to sound exactly what you're familiar with, right? They arrest them, they take them, the judge looks at it, says, okay, here's a $100 bail, or maybe not even that, and we'll see you in court in 4 weeks. And so then that's, and so they get out and they're back doing bad things the next day. And so he lays that out, and he lays out the argument for this, that this fits in disruption of prosecution. Then if you keep listening, you'll hear Kim McManus, the legislative attorney for the Vermont Department of State's Attorneys and Sheriffs, who comes in and says, oh, it's totally constitutional, and this is why it's constitutional, and it fits and it works. And then after that, you get Judge Thomas Zone, Chief Superior Judge from Vermont Judiciary, who says, hard saying, not knowing. Yeah. Guess you'll have to make the law and see if anybody gets it overturned. And so that's where it stands. Because this happened on March 13th was the last thing. I mean, it was after crossover. There will be almost certainly over the summer, there'll be some conversations between the chair, probably his vice chair, and some folks with the state, again, just sort of trying to, see if there are anything tweaks that need to happen that could make it based on what they've already heard from the Defender General in particular, and see what they can do. And then it'll be taken up probably sometime in January.
So basically, it won't make it out of committee right now.
You what?
Do you think it'll ever make it out of committee? If you had, you think so? Oh, good. That's good to know. That's good.
Yeah, because
take reasonable chance.
Because the chair's involved.
Oh, good.
Chair cares.
Okay, good.
It needs to rhyme, but
Yeah. That's okay.
So, yeah, I think it has a good chance. They will take a lot more testimony. There'll be, in January, there'll be lots of folks coming in from every advocacy group. The mental health advocacy folks are going to come in and say, this is going to be bad because their problem isn't really, it's a mental health issue, it's not, and they're going to be unduly, caught up in it. You're going to get, a variety of other folks who are going to come in. You're probably the advocacy groups for the unhoused, but you're also going to get, again, you're going to get other advocacy groups in favor of the bill. So, I mean, it's the nature of the legislative process, which is that you basically say, anyone who has an opinion on this, come tell us it, and then we will weigh that all together and see if we can come up with something that you all can live with. And if you can't, then we sort of have to figure out what you can live with mostly. And so that's sort of how the process works. It's never fast, which is a feature, not a bug, because in general, anytime somebody passes a bill like that, you know it's going to suck. It just is. There's going to be unanticipated side effects. And so, it's just kind of like you went to the doctor and you said, I've had this ailment for a really long time, and they don't even look at it, they just say, here, take this. Right? It's, you're likely to have side effects. So it's the way the process goes, but it can be frustrating.
It makes sense, but yeah, thank you for looking at that.
So
Appreciate
that's,
that.
I think that was going to go, and it's entirely possible, as I haven't seen 411, but also what may happen is this is sort of the root, and then they may, if there are other pieces of 409 that fit into it or will work with it, they'll put those in, or they'll peel out this piece and it'll be a separate piece of legislation, especially if they think there's stuff. If, for whatever reason, let's say 409 looks like way too big of a roadblock, then they might say, well, some of the stuff in 411 we still want to pass, so that's part of why you do two bills, in case you peel stuff out and you can move forward without necessarily it being a package deal. Therethere's always pulling things, shifting things. It's a very confusing process.
All right.
Makes sense.
Did I answer that?
Yeah.
Was that it? Do you care about anything else? You did a few other things.
I will,
The housing bill finally went?
The housing bill did, 127, Senate 127, and I had notes on it, but do you have particular thoughts or questions?
Is that the one where it's the municipalities and they're working with developers?
That's the, what they call the CHIP program.
Yeah.
Community Housing Infrastructure Program.
Yeah, did they also refund, put more money in the program before where people could go through a county-wide, area to maybe somebody wants to build an ADU, or I can't remember the name of that, if it was like a V whatever, but it was an existing mechanism, and I knew that in some places they'd given out all the money and they weren't taking applications anymore, so it was obvious that it was working.
Like VHIP.
VHIP, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so did they also fund that program again, or did they just put the money into CHIP?
Well, there's no money into CHIP.
Well,
I mean,
right. I saw that it was going to be the fall till the rules came out. Yeah.
But,
Yes.
I'd love to discuss with you. It's the most fascinating topic.
TIF districts? Is that what you're saying? TIF districts are the, yeah, it's,
So these are small TIFs.
yeah.
I'm trying to remember. It was kind of shocking because, my committee, Commerce, Economic Development, we aren't officially in charge of housing. But we were always brought into the conversation because employers can't have, they don't have any place for people to live.
Exactly.
And so we get brought into it. It was interesting because I'm pretty certain the governor's budget did not include money for all that stuff. And the House put it back in. I'm not sure, we all hate, everyone loves to hate appropriations, the people who spend the money.
Yeah.
But they had, basically, they had 7 times the amount of requests.
Yes.
as money they had.
I mean, so obviously it was working. I was like, why don't you fund a mechanism that you already have instead of kicking it to the municipality? Because, you know, that makes me happy. Well, it's like, but they had a program that worked and they had the bugs worked out. So I'm like, but God forbid we fund it
Yeah, no,
again. So you don't know if there's money for it or not, or maybe it's in the,
So, let me just say, an act relating to housing and housing development,
yeah.
among other things, allocates money for lower and middle income vermonters to access financing for house purchases and rentals. Grants landlords bringing up the unit, and grants for landlords bringing units up to code. So there's some, at least in the bill, there's some money.
For existing units,
Yeah.
but not for the building of
To
new.
expand housing options quickly, the bill also helps people living in mobile homes. And so there is, and there was also this whole piece, because, yeah, I mean, and the mobile homes they're talking about are not, I mean, certainly this might bring up the code, but there's money also to get people to upgrade
Yeah.
to modern, they're not called mobile homes anymore. And because they're now built at such a standard that unlike a mobile home that depreciates like a car, some of the new, what we, modular homes, they actually appreciate the value. And so there's some money for that. There's also, you remember, maybe we're all too young to remember, but I remember hearing about how Sears and Roebuck used to be a corner house. And it had a number of options. You can have this living room or that, whatever. There are a number of companies now out there basically doing that. And they can do it really cheap because they're basically making larger, like
Mass producing?
you just have this choice. Right? You want this bathroom or that bathroom. And they're building them all in prefab, and they ship it to your house when you put them in. And so there's some money in there to incentivize and help with that.
It's interesting to me because we all municipalities, or for the most part, a lot of us had to change our zoning regulations to obviously allow for more ADHUs, or for more ADUs, which was not a big deal. I mean, to do that, obviously we're in favor, but we all had to change our zoning regs. That's kind of a process. They started this funding mechanism. It's working. They have 7 times the application, so people are building housing, but we're gonna stop funding it.
I think the House
Will bad money.
put money in it. I'm just saying the governor didn't want to because.
Yeah.
But I would have to look exactly and see where that line is, what appropriations did.
Yeah.
But that was one of the priorities for my committee.
And that wouldn't kick out until January anyways.
The what?
That wouldn't come out, that wouldn't be voted on that till January, right? For that appropriation? If it was funded.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we're always approving following.
Right, just
And
like us,
so-
yeah.
And so there'll be, and in January, we'll have the
Yeah.
budget balancing
Yeah.
work.
Act.
But to just talk briefly about the CHIP program. So
Yeah.
the CHIP program is if you have a developer, and it could be an individual, it's not a big company, and they want to, there's been studies that the reason why people only build McMansions these days is because they're the only people that can, that's the only size house that a developer can build that will actually make them enough money to really get, to be able to make a living at it and sell that stuff. And so there are a number of advocacy groups out there that are kind of pushing for trying to come up with ways to help make them more affordable, so that middle income. I mean, there's money for low income, but middle income, it's the middle that's really in trouble. And so developers will say that the biggest expense is that, let's say they want to do a development of 10 houses or something like that in a place, and the town is all in favor of it, it's all good, but it has no water or sewer. And the estimate is it costs $1 million per mile to get it there. So, and so that is such a big upfront cost to the developer that basically they can't build an affordable house, on top of all that. And we're talking about developments, it's different than individual, somebody wants to build a house out in the woods. And so what is based on is what's called tax increment financing. I will explain it to you, and there's controversy. Some people love it, some people hate it. But the idea is that, so I have a field, and I'm being taxed at whatever, this rate, okay, for that field. And if I don't do anything about it, I'm just going to be taxed approximately that rate of minimum taxes. Never say steady, but, let's assume, that it's just going to stay at that rate. Because I'm not changing it, I'm not doing anything. If I start to develop it, then it's going to have more value. It's going to have more tax revenue potential. And which it would not have if I don't develop it. So the idea is that the town has to agree to all this, and there's a contract that comes out, but you basically say for 20 years, we're going to still tax you as if it's just a field. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that additional tax. Well, we're going to tax you the actual amount, but we're only going to take into our coffers our usual base level. That additional amount that is accumulating, we're going to use to pay off a loan to pay for that infrastructure of the sewer, the water, sidewalks, if you're close enough, you want sidewalk, all that stuff. And so at the end of the 20 years, you'll then, you paid off that loan. And the idea is the town owns the water and the sewer. That's why you charge it for it. And so that's the idea. So is that the people who are in favor of it say, well, the development wouldn't happen unless you do this, and so you're not really losing anything by not taking that increased tax value, putting it into the state education fund, but the people against it say, oh wait, that's money that could be going into the state education fund and keeping, lowering our property taxes. And so that is the debate between the two. And depending on the day of the week, I agree with one side or the other. I think I've finally been convinced that if I never do anything with my field, then the town isn't winning anything by me not doing anything.
Right.
And yes, there's a deferred benefit to the town, but in the end, the town will ultimately end up with an asset. So that's what the CHIP program is, and it has to be negotiated with the town, so the town likes the program, they approve of what's going to happen, they approve the development, there's a bunch of things. Some of that has to be all negotiated out with the state agency that will be overseeing that, but the idea is to make that process, the TIFs as a whole, that process was originally invented for, like, the city of South Burlington, who says we want to put a new downtown in. We don't have town centers, so we're going to put in millions of dollars. And this is really designed for a smaller project. So the idea is to make this really simple, because the really big things are super complicated, just the managing. And so that's been one of the arguments is can Therese add this to something that she'd be managing? Is that a reasonable thing to add to your workload? I mean, ultimately, it's up to the Selectboard to make that decision. They feel like that is. But so the idea has been to kind of minimize those kinds of requirements and stuff like that. And again, and people have argued and said, well, wait, too minimal, then people take advantage. Other people say yes, but we don't. If it's such a burden to the town, and no one's going to do it, and it's just a waste of time. So that's where we are on that.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's a good explanation. Thank you.
I know more about tips than
Than you ever thought you'd want to know. Sure.
So, any other things?
We'll catch up with you at the legislative breakfast.
What?
We'll catch up with you at the last legislative breakfast.
Absolutely. I'll have this exact same pile of papers,
All right.
And so if you have other questions about things, like I said, I tabbed all sorts of things here. I've got talk about the highways, I've got the, what is that called? What's the exact name? Because this is actually a public safety issue. Public inebriation programs.
They're for it or against it, or?
Is if you're drunk and you're publicly inebriated, they have to take you to the ER.
No kidding.
And they dump them there.
Wow.
And the ERs are saying, this is a problem.
Right,
Because
sure.
some of them are belligerent and difficult. So this is a program to sort of basically start the process of perhaps, back in the day, the prison, the local police station had the drunk tank. Sort of not really going all that way back, but going, getting.
ER's already been
So yeah, there's things like that. You have the open meeting law. Yeah, I got all sorts of stuff. So anybody has any questions about things, and if I don't have it, I can probably look at it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt. Good luck.
Thanks,
Are
Kurt.
you gonna, will they make you go all summer, or you just don't
I
know?
mean, fortunately, right? I mean, I'm not in that committee.
Yeah,
So what they're doing right now is what are called token sessions.
Right.
Which basically means only the people who have to be there are there.
oh, there you
And so
go.
they're the only people getting paid to be there. And so the rest of us are just waiting. And once in a while we get an email that says, usually it's the House saying, don't forget, you gotta support the House.
Yeah.
And one of my colleagues said to me, they said, I feel really uneasy about 454. They said, because I feel like we need to do something, but I don't really like what it does to small towns. They said, I really envy you, to me. They said, because you're really clear, you're against it.
Yeah,
Right? I don't have, I'm not ambiguous about how I feel. I think it's really bad for our schools.
Yeah.
And there is not a single school in our district that would not be adversely affected.
right.
And I got an email from someone saying, well, I'm in favor of it, we should consolidate schools because I sent my kids to Sharon Academy. I'm like, I haven't been back, but I'm like, Sharon Academy's going away too. if this
Yeah.
happens.
Right.
I mean, you're going to be busting your kids to bury.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
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 So I mean, in a way, I have a certain amount of calm about it.
Right, that makes
I just
sense.
know how to vote when I want to.
Yeah, because you're just saying, just say no. So it's
say no,
easier,
thank you.
yeah. Well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you,
Appreciate
Kurt.
it, All
Appreciate it.
right, take care.
Okay. Next up, we have Ellie with the Recreation Committee updates and your grant application.
Yes. I'm here to let you know about all the wonderful, exciting plans that the Recreation Committee is planning for the summer. We have changed our kickfoot projects that we do. We've changed it so that now we're going to just have sessions, 4 or 5 sessions of just people of all ages coming and skateboarding. And they're going to be on the Thursdays in July, starting July 3rd, on the Thursdays from 6 to 8 p.m. So that's a change. We've got a flyer about that.
Yep.
And also on the flyer that you got, that I gave you, the town now has a disc golf course that we are really excited about. And so Jamie Floyd is going to lead an introduction workshop that's going to be on Wednesday, July 9th from at 5:30 p.m. That's again an event in July that we're excited about, and it's for all ages. We had a project last year called Kids and Coffee. It was a wonderful workshop. Unfortunately, the funding that we had for it last year is gone. And it cost us over $400 last year. So, because our funding is gone, we have only scheduled 3
Give me that.
to have only 3 of them, kids and coffee, this year, and they'll be 2 in July and 1 in August, and so we are submitting to you all a handsome Lamson House grant that I heard about to ask for $200 because that is approximately how much that we need for the 3 classes, since we're only doing 3 of them. And we have also are excited about having another bike maintenance workshop. That was very successful with us, and that will be on Monday, July 21st, from 5 to 7. And I have this wonderful Ben over here that wants to do, he's going to tell you about a project that he has for this summer.
I know I spoke to Jordan on the phone earlier today, but I built a local softball league, town league is with that league that plays in Chelsea, South Royalton, Sharon, through Bethel and stuff like that. We used to be like a 10-12 team league, kind of spread across, we shrunk a little bit, we're now down to 5 or 6, kind of close to 20, trouble getting a younger crew and getting new teams in. So first and foremost, it's a plug, you know anyone wants to play softball, send them our way. But second, we run a ton of tournaments throughout the year. Some fundraisers, some is personal. The typical rate for them is 8 to 10 teams, maybe 8 to 12 teams, about $250 a team per event, with very little overhead. There's field use, maybe some concessions. But after speaking with Jordan, he suggested that youth sports runs the concession stand, and we use the field down at Bethel Rec. So my general plan was to open up a metal bat rubber ball tournament, co-ed to all ages, but mostly nosing around the softball community here for August 2nd and 3rd, with all proceeds going to the Bethel Rec Committee. And then whatever comes out of concessions going to the schools. So my hope for that is it raises $2,000 to $2,500 depending on whether we have 8 teams, 10 teams, 12 teams. It could be a 2-day tournament depending on the numbers. I want to placehold for those 2 days if it was available. I've already kind of noticed it around the community. Again, you have people signing up for tournaments in May that aren't going to happen until September. So I just wanted to kind of see the thing going. So I created a private Facebook group, just start inviting people and be like, hey, this is going to happen, but I don't know when and if. So.
Yeah.
My only question lies on the insurance.
Well, you're not on town property, that's school property.
Right, but the youth sports was gonna do this, but we have an insurance policy, so I don't know. I have to go talk to Andra and Pete about it. but-
Because they let people do fundraising. I mean, the fire department's done fundraising down there
The fire
and,
department has insurance.
oh, gotcha. But if Bethel Youth Sports has insurance,
Right, you'd have to run the program through the youth
So
sports to
how-
get the insurance.
How did David Fair do it for us years ago?
I don't know.
Did you do it with the fire department?
No.
He just did it.
I mean, maybe he won it, but if somebody
he
gets
might
hurt.
have,
it's-
yeah, I don't know.
Likely that's what he did.
Two quick things on that. One, I'm modeling this after the Bethel Rec, or the Bethel Fire tournaments that used to happen down there.
Yeah.
But two, in Vermont, well, written waivers will uphold, so someone,
We were additionally gonna do
Yeah,
that,
so
so everyone
you-
signs away liability. But I think we have a board meeting coming up as well for youth sports, so maybe you can stop in.
Yeah.
And we can talk more about it because we could do the waivers and then also link up to maybe tuck the coverage in to make sure that everything is safe.
yeah.
And then what do you do? Work out using do you use the trailer or do you guys have your own concessions?
No,
Because
but
know
I
you were
could get with
talking to
Chris about bringing
Yeah.
down the trailer for
Yeah.
tables and chairs and
Sure.
stuff and
Yeah.
games for kids.
Yeah.
You make it a big thing, but
Yeah, he'd
he's
do-
offered the trailer. Or
Yeah, he'd
we
do
can.
that, yeah. absolutely.
I told them I could pull it down there and
Yeah.
open it up. We were thinking about parking it down there for the fall anyway, so that we
Yep.
could put out chairs for all the families that are going down to sit and watch or
Yeah.
visit, and
Yeah,
it's
I'm
just
sure
nice
that-
to be able to sit down.
Yeah, Chris Forrest, it's a good use of the trailer, so I'm sure Chris Forrest would be
Yeah.
for that. So
We
yeah,
can make
that's
something
fine. So it's really not a,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Town
they
matter.
want it- we want the trailer to be used more and more.
Right.
absolutely.
It just sits there,
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's,
we
So it's-
keep promoting the trailer for things.
I know. So it sounds like it's a Bethel Youth Sports issue. It's certainly not a town.
And
'cause
we'll get
it's
with the
not
school,
us,
so.
but-
Yeah, I'll give you the board meeting date.
Yeah, I also emailed you, so you have my email.
Yeah.
You just want to fire me off the schedule.
Yep.
Yeah, any other questions about it?
No, well, did you say your name was Ben?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you do go get it all sorted out and you advertise, certainly feel free to send us, we can put it on our website, we can put it on our Facebook page, we can put it on Front Porch Forum for you, so, you know, if you need assistance advertising for the event, just let us know.
Outside the softball community.
Yeah, just let us know, we're happy to help you do that. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I figured this will hopefully add some confidence a little more.
Yeah.
For any program.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's great, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So Ellie, in regards to your grant, I had emailed you, said, you know, if you needed money, let me know. So if this grant doesn't go through or you end up needing, you know, another $100, I'm sure I can come up with the money out of the general fund budget somewhere. So don't, even if you don't get the grant, don't scrap your kids and coffee. I'll find the money under something. So, you know, like I said to you in an email that, you know, so definitely, don't.
But since I thought to go for it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm just saying,
If that's okay with you guys.
I'm just saying if you don't get it, don't kill kids and coffee, you know, we'll help you out.
And what do you think about our exciting programs for this summer?
Well, I just want
Gonna
to,
be busy.
Disc golfing,
I'm gonna try
oh,
to
so
make it to a
where is
couple
the
more
disc
things.
golf course?
it's right behind the school.
It's up in the woods.
Oh, okay, because I was,
On one of the trails.
I was
on
at
the
the rec
trails.
area the other day, I'm like, it's not there.
It's
Oh, it's over on
it's
the
on the
side.
trails.
It's
It's
on
Oh,
the
cool.
on the trails. So
Yeah. I
you
think
gotta
that's a-
bounce the Frisbee off the trees to get it in
There,
there.
that's a great idea, though. That's a really big
Yeah,
up-and-coming
there's
sport.
like 8 baskets. 'cause
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
trees and it's. Yeah.
That's cool. The only thing I was gonna tell you is I didn't know about your skate park situation until, you know, nobody was monitoring, I guess, the skate park. So when we were over there and Dietrich was, you know, doing the pool closing and stuff, she was going, oh, well, I should inspect it. So we have some problems at the skate park. So she emailed Michael Parker because you have some areas where it's been rode so much you can see the stone a little bit. And it got sealed in the fall of '23, but not last year. I think in the spring we thought it looked good. Now we've got some cracks and some issues, so he asked, so Dietrich, she emailed Michael Parker, she went back, took pictures and sent them to him. So, I mean, we keep money in the budget to have it sealed every year, but I don't, you know, we're waiting to see what he can do and when he's coming. Because, you know, there's a couple things going on over there apparently, because, you know, I think, you know, the flower beds haven't been weeded, there's weeds growing up around the swings, and looks like we'll have to redo the mulch maybe next year under the swings and stuff, but yeah, so there's a couple issues going on with the skate park. So I didn't, you know, I figured if Shane had seen it, you know, Shane, he's always so good, that he would have messaged, and I didn't think to go look at it in the fall, because nobody had said anything, but maybe it was over the winter, it didn't weather well.
Yeah, because-
I don't know. So just so you know, we have reached out to Michael Parker. He is gonna have to do some maintenance, but we'll let him know when you're, you know, that you're doing this. So, just so he can work around it, because I hate to have you advertise it and then him come that day and say, oh, no skating.
Right.
But yeah, just so people know, it needs a little bit of maintenance.
I didn't know. But, and I had gotten your email about trash or whatever.
Yeah.
And stuff, and
People.
I've been going over there every so
They're so
often.
good, yeah.
And it's pretty clean.
Good,
when
good.
I go over there. In fact, I haven't seen as many cigarette butts.
Oh, good, yeah, because it did get cleaned up at one point, and then, but why people are stuffing trash in the little grills just
I know. The other
makes
day when I
makes me
found-
ugly.
I found the bottom of the, it's a glass, it's a round glass,
Mm-hmm.
and you can tell it's the bottom of a bottle.
Yeah, and you have to be
It's a
careful.
broken, and it was in the grill, a broken bottle.
Yeah.
the day that I-
And I did reach out to Lindsay, and she put stuff on your Facebook page, and we did on ours, and we are trying to get, deal with some communication issue over there, so maybe we can put up cameras, so, or
Yeah, I
additional
love-
cameras.
I think that.
I know, it's sad, though. It's sad that it's come to
But you
this.
have a
Talking about
warning at
should
the pool
public
that
comment
you
be
have
something that's not
Yeah.
on
I
here,
know, but it's in this alley.
And tomorrow,
but
I'll be over
she shouldn't
there
be saying anything
because
about that. That's
the
just our
intern
conversation.
program, Chris Forrest and I'll be
Yeah.
over
Nice.
there, doing, with Mary Shell's got an intern program.
Yeah.
And we've been asked to go over there, and we might be doing, I think it's gonna rain, but.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna introduce the trails and introduce the interns to recreation.
Nice.
Tomorrow
That's-
at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, that's great.
And weeding.
But that's good. But yeah, so
Gotta get weeding and
I just
cleaning.
wanted to let you know about Michael Parker, because I
Right.
finally just had the conversation with Dietrich today, and then,
Right.
so she did send him pictures, so we'll see what's what, but as soon as I get any information back, we'll let you know, just so you're in the loop.
So we're excited for summer if it only get warmer and not.
Yeah.
Not summer.
So I need a motion for,
Just to approve her application as part of the grant policy.
Motion to approve the grant application.
all those in favor? Aye. All right, thank you. And public comment. Do we have any public comment tonight?
Nobody online? No, we're having, yeah, really, exact. No, you can't. I'll tell you the whole pool history, but we don't have time.
Yes.
Not yet.
All right, there's no public comment, and so next is Recreation Committee coin drop request for June 21st, 8 to noon, with a rain date of August 9th. Approve with conditions. They complete the application with location and inform the board of where they will be getting the signs and comply with traffic plan.
So you didn't finish the application. Where are you doing it? Oh. I was like, where's she setting up?
Right.
Oh, Church Street, okay. I assume so, but I was like,
Right.
Sorry.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So, and then we're trying to ask the fire department for their signs.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, sure. That's fine, yeah, yeah, I'm sure if you just get a hold of Paul Feeney or Corey Richards or somebody, Jason Rogers, yeah, somebody.
So we need a motion for that?
Yep, because you have to sign it.
Yes, I do.
Motion to approve the coin drop application hinging on getting the signs to comply with the traffic plan.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So you just need to sign.
And next is water commissioners to approve change of to the allocation of 2 lines within the 25-26 water budget with no change to the bottom line.
So that was my mistake. I was talking to Richard. We were at Richard Manning, the water operator. We were talking about the budget at the end of the year, or we're coming up on the end of our fiscal year. So Richard and I were talking about it. And so I went back to double check something, and we have 2, Richard works full-time, and we have a guy, Clayton Whitmarsh, who works part-time. And I was going through it and I was like, Richard, I forgot Clayton's salary. I put it in the sewer budget, but not in the water budget. I'm like, oh God. So I said, all right, obviously publicly admit my mistake and we'll go. So I want to just increase the salary line, which adds Clayton back in, which adds to FICA and Medi, but I'm just removing the difference from the reserve fund. So there's no change to bottom line, no change to rates. Richard was like, I didn't see that. And I was like, well, it's because it would have been my issue, not yours, Richard. So anyway, so that's my fault. And, but as your water commissioners, I just need you to, approve that change. And I highlighted it for you so you could see where I went wrong.
Motion to approve?
All those in favor?
Yeah, so
All
sorry
right.
about
And
that.
now we have a first-class license renewal for Cockadoodle Pizza and a catering permit for Babe's Bar on 6/27 from 7 to 11 at the White Church. I need a motion on that.
Motion to approve?
All in favor? Right, we have the Bethel Fire Department, Vermont Emergency Responders Program Policy. Need a motion to approve that.
Yeah, if you have
It's
any-
in the packet.
If you have any questions, I think I explained that to you in that in order for us to get an estimate from the insurance company, from BFIS, we needed to have a policy and that you needed to approve, and we had to have an estimated amount of calls, and thank God for Sally, because I'm like, there will be an SOG coming at some point, but I need to get this answered right away, so I figured this is just a policy, and whatever, it can change, but it's the only way I'm gonna get an insurance estimate, because once the fire department starts running as first responders, as to quote the insurance man, he said, oh, I can give you coverage for that, but I'm gonna have to give you an estimate. So I just wanna know how much it's gonna cost. So that's the bottom line for what this is, but you'll be getting a more detailed SOG from the Fire Advisory Board at some point. That's what we're gonna say, at some point.
Approve?
All in favor? All right, and now we have our Select Board policy on press releases that Teresa's done up.
Well, yeah, Alice, but, say
Alice.
Alice, but this was the draft, well, she wrote to VLCT, and then we made some changes, and I just put in my edit, so I don't know what you guys want to fix or edit or change. Obviously, I've made it effective next time so we could buy some time, because I hadn't heard from anybody, so I assumed that meant you were good with it, but you have, you can make changes.
Seems good and still broad enough that we can not be held to specifics. if
Right.
need be, but I'm good with it.
Yeah, that's good, man.
Did you, I thought you had some changes.
Nope, I don't have any changes to this. It looks good. You cleaned it up and,
Yeah, okay, I just want to make sure.
yeah,
so-
no, absolutely.
So you're, okay.
Okay,
But
Motion to
the only
approve.
question I have, Ray, of course, is
That's okay.
defining like emergency, right? Is that a technical term, or is that your discretion what an emergency is?
Where,
So
Where?
approval process, the third bullet says emergency
thank
press
you.
releases
I'm like-
may be expedited.
yeah, for me, emergency is like, I only consider that under the title of my emergency, because I'm also the EMD. So I consider that as like flooding, storms, that sort of thing. I don't know what other, I mean, obviously, if it was like a public safety thing, but yeah, otherwise, unless something's going underwater, it's probably not super emergency. So I think I would use it in a discretionary term that way. If the emergency management directors get involved, it's probably emergency. Other than that, you know, municipal government moves slowly. You have to, not as slow as the state, however, I will say. But, okay, cool, as long as they're good with it.
Motion to approve?
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, and we have the fund balance policy.
Okay, so-
Everybody has read it and understands it.
So no changes, well, I mean, not that you didn't offer any changes, but Paul Valley did. So I reworked the unassigned parts, because he made some good points, you know, as Paul was always a great select board member. So I just changed the last part under fund balance uses and said it will be used for the following expenses. And we're just reminding with voter approval. It says that in the beginning, but doing it here. I left 1 and 2 and 4 alone, and then I added 3, which is reduction of property taxes. You can sometimes offset taxes, but in a way, you're kind of doing that if you add money to a general, to a capital budget and capital fund, and you reduce that expense out of the general fund, you're kind of the same way, but you can also create a line item for a revenue that you're not going to collect. So Paul had talked about that, and I thought it made sense, so anyway, so that was the only change that I had made from feedback I had received, just not from you. So
with voter approval, does that mean it has to wait for a town meeting, or are you?
it has to break, yeah, or a special town meeting.
Okay, if you want to warn something.
Yeah, usually we, in my experience, we always just do it as part of town meeting, and it becomes an article on the warning. Shall the voters transfer X amount of dollars from an undesignated fund balance to fund Ben's retirement, or something like that.
Motion to approve?
Yeah. So, so that's generally the way it is. But yes, if we had an issue, we could do a special meeting, town
excellent.
meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I make a motion to approve the policy.
Second.
All those in favor?
This is good, because you should see the stack of ordinance. I didn't put in your packet. It was the fact that there was like 31 policies and at least a dozen ordinances. And select board members are often say, we should look at these every year. I thought, well, this is the year.
Yeah.
So some of them are really old. Alice has been trying to combine, we had 4 drug and alcohol policies, but because of CDLs and non-CDLs and this, I'm not sure we're going to have less, but they'll be more up to date, because some of the policies were like 1997, and so but a lot of it is stuff you write, we have to have for certain grant requirements, but yet we never use. So, but that's a federal
We're going to sign this tonight
thing. So, oh yeah.
while we're all here?
Yep, so here we're passing around your approval of I think that's the only one that had a signature, right?
That's the only one I saw.
Yeah, the select board policy. This is for the the fund balance policy. So what are we at now?
We're at the Code of Ethics Investigation and Enforcement Ordinance.
Yeah, so we probably should have taken this out of Kirk's hide, but this is because of that whole ethics thing that the state passed. So they couldn't make it a policy. It has to be an ordinance, which has many levels of posting requirements and everything. So we had looked at this before a couple months ago, and I'd gone back and cleaned up D because some of the places were redundant. And this obviously came from, as do most of ours, from like VLCT. I guess we had talked about it on April 28th. And Brian had asked, well, don't we have a conflict of interest, municipal ethics, but it was just the state law that was on our website, because we have to be in compliance with the municipal ethics law that the state passed. So, it still makes me ugly that we're doing this, that they wasted time on municipal ethics, but whatever. So I don't know if you have any changes you want to make to this, but once you approve this, then it has to be, you read at the select board minute, we have to post it in certain places, then it goes in the newspaper, then I believe that that 60 days that voters can rescind, and I don't know. So this is nothing you asked for. This is an unfunded mandate from the state.
This is standard.
Yeah, it is. It is. I just don't know if anybody has any questions or changes, or, like I said, you saw in the end of April, and that was it.
It just formalizes what to do if someone has a complaint about someone who works for the town.
Yes, only for investigations of that an employee has violated the Vermont's municipal code of ethics, not because they plowed your driveway in and you're ugly about it, nothing like that. This is like, yeah. Yep.
Motion to approve?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right, so you sign this one too. So I'm gonna fill
Right
in
here.
I'm gonna fill in the blanks here.
Yeah.
6-9, 6-9, all right, so this one does not have your name specifically on it, so you can just sign wherever you.
Anyway.
Yep,
Sideways on the back.
yeah, well, within reason.
And now we're up to the town manager's report.
So 2 properties that were sold at last year's tax sale on Hidden Glen Road were sold to Ken Best and his family. The 2 properties were not redeemed by the actual owner, so now they are officially Ken Best and his family's, and if need be, they'll start any eviction or cleanup process that they need to do. But, meanwhile, Dietrich and I started looking, and the state had also changed the delinquent tax collection laws, so we will, I think I currently have 7 or 8 possible tax sale properties. So we'll see how they do with payment arrangements, that sort of thing. So if not, we'll hold another tax sale. Pre-grievances went great. Nemrick saw about 75 property owners. They now have a full schedule for for grievances, which are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and of this week. And I know they're booked tomorrow, but we still could take walk-ins if we needed to. So, but it seemed like most of the people that went to pre-grievance are not at grievances. So that's a good thing. They got their questions answered, and so that's a good thing. So we'll see once that goes, if anyone is still unhappy, then they will have to write a letter to the town clerk, and then it becomes your issue along with the justices of the peace. So then it would go to the Board of Civil Authority. But hopefully everybody, gets it all worked out ahead of time. So we'll see. Consumer confidence report for the water system is out on our website per the annual requirement. The pool was drained on June 9th. We hired VTUMs to come in, and they did a great job. And they also did some stormwater structures that were pumped out. Richard Manning is going to have them come back, and AJ, to do a couple more that they just didn't have time to do. VTUMs also does repairs of catch basins, so we'll probably have them do a little bit of work there. That is really a process to empty the pool. You're draining it for a while, and then you've got 2 people using power washers to clean it all, to get any of the, built-in, dirt off, and it's a process. And we're just running out of people to do it. So I did ask Dietrich to contact VTUMs to get a price to see what they would charge to do the whole process themselves, because we end up renting a power washer. We've got, people there, and it's just, it's a hassle, and to do it. So, but, so it's open now. Rick Pettit is here from Hawaii. We had some issues with our pool, and Pulteney or Putney, one of the 2, had issues. So he's here on he's calling it his 11-day municipal vacation, and he had everything failed. So he's just doing some repairs to the gel coat.
Okay.
So that's a good thing. He showed up as a surprise, so that's nice. We ended up using somebody different to drain the pool. We had used, Green Mountain Pipeline, and then last year their truck broke down, and Paul Feeney must have been there 6 hours working on their truck, and we've tried, it just didn't work. So we found a different outfit. They came in and bing bang. It was great. Yeah. So
Yeah, it was actually last Tuesday. That's
Yeah.
when I took a bunch of pictures.
So that's good. So tomorrow, Richard and I have a meeting for the water project, the never-ending water project, tomorrow at my office at 9. And then I believe that at 10 a.m., we will also be meeting with Pike, Hebert, and Aldrich and Elliott, hopefully to come to some resolve with the issues that we're having on Sand Hill. Currently, we have not been told what the grade offages are. I have written to the engineers to ask for schedules of when their on-site construction supervisor was there. I've paid the invoices and saw the dates he was reimbursed for mileage, but I haven't got anything back from them. So far, frankly, the only one that's been responsive is Pike. They've been there twice. I met last Saturday, Chris Jarvis from Pike, and then last Friday, he came to the office to look at contract 1 plans and revisit contract 2 plans, which was theirs. And then he and I went out there on Friday, and he has some ideas. And so it will be interesting to see who takes responsibility. Obviously, it's, not us. And I have gone through the contract for the engineering area to look at what our options are as far as damages and this and that. So hopefully tomorrow, the 3 of them work it out and we come to a consensus that's acceptable to me, because I'm not gonna accept just anything. And if not, I'll make a phone call tomorrow afternoon to the town attorney and at least just send a letter to these guys saying, look, we're just not fooling around here. You get a letter, you get a letter, you get a letter. But currently, so far, the only contractor that's been helpful is Pike, and if we have to do something with Pike, they're finishing on the North Road, so we want them to come from there to here, because I am not going to get put in a position where we're putting in pavement in October and November again. So he and I walked it and looked at the issues, and so we'll see how it comes out tomorrow. So Richard and I have an agreement that we're going to be calm and we're just going to listen, and if my head implodes, Richard's going to put me in his truck and drive me back to the office. So we'll see how it goes. But I don't know. I'm not even cautiously optimistic, honestly. We'll see what happens there. So I don't know. Other than that, we have, so grievances are finishing up. So obviously the preliminary tax rate that I put out at 0.818 was just that, preliminary, because some changes have been made in pre-grievances and grievances. I don't know the values to those yet. So obviously my expectation is, because there was a 73% growth increase in the grand list, that we will still see savings back from the 130 that we had estimated, or I'd estimated in March, to now, but I do expect that 0.818 at this point will grow, but to what level, but to what I don't know. I still think it'll be a reduction, obviously, but it just depends how these grievances go this week. So that I'm not aware of, but I have had no complaints about Nemrick. Anyone that has gone to pre-grievance, I've heard nothing but good things. People have felt they were listened to and all that. So at least if someone has a beef, I haven't heard about it. So.
Perfect.
I think that's it, unless you have, oh wait, let me see. Yeah, tax sale, I told you one was, Oh, so apparently there was the confusion on a class 4 road on Christian Hill by the Fago's property. I had a conversation with Mrs. Fago and asked her to talk to Alex, because I didn't look, as I said, I did not look at the state highway map as I should have. I was really thinking it was more of a civil matter between 2 property owners. So Brian or Alex gave to Brian, and Brian gave to me. Obviously, this was something you don't need to revisit. It was already dealt with by a prior select board. If the landowner wishes to have it surveyed, they can do so at their expense, but currently it is a state highway. I did ask Alex to remove the sign that he said not a class 4 road, and he did remove that. It actually worked out really well, because Richard Manning, not only is he your chief water sewer operator, he's the president of the ATV club. He came in when Alex was there, so the 2 of them each put up one of their own signs, and he was able to explain the law. So it's good. And but if Mrs. Fago wishes to have it surveyed, or the other neighbor, they can feel free to do so. In the meantime, it's still a class 4 road. So So I should have looked at the state highway map, but I just thought it was a civil matter, so won't make that mistake again. So looks like you're all set there.
All right, we have select board minutes from May 12th to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And we have other communications from other committee meetings and the sheriff's report and some budget stuff for anybody to go over.
Yeah, I didn't, apparently, they just crossed in the mail, that's why you have two of the ones from the sheriff's office for April and then May. And then,
Now, how come they're, aren't they doing less hours than they, is that because they're short-staffed or something?
I don't know, I don't know, that's a good
Didn't
question.
we, wasn't it supposed to be 36 hours a week?
No,
Not yet.
not yet, not until July, they're gonna get to,
Okay.
would
I know
be
he tries to keep it-
32? Is that what that budget passed?
36 or something.
I don't know,
36.
I think it went to
It
32.
was 36, it was time and a half. I went up 50%.
Okay,
But, and I haven't quite seen it yet, but I know that he tries to keep every month relative to those hours, but we're gonna see 1 month be more, 1 month be less. There's gonna be, I think, some other things happening along those lines, and maybe more concentration here and there, and then, you know, mix it up. It's nice to have a heavier presence on certain nights, or they know, like, you know, maybe it's a more active night for vandalism and, you know, people wandering. So they put 2-3 cars in town.
okay.
It's gonna be pretty random, and looking forward to it.
They have been, you know, really responsive, obviously, in your packet, and I've done 2 this year. A notice against trespass, we had to trespass a person, I did, off from the band shell, but I just want to say that it was Deputy Jim Baraldi, and he was great. I called him about the issue we were having. He met with the person and offered them a bottle of water, called the Haven to see if they had a bed, which they didn't. He put them on the phone with the Vermont, you know, someone at Vermont Housing. The person hung up on them. He offered them a ride to Claire Martin or to Gifford to the hospital or wherever, you know, they needed to go. All of that was refused. So as a last resort, he trespassed her, and so, you know, unfortunately, that was the situation, but he had tried many things, and then later that night, she was at the credit union, and they have a porch there, a couple apartments they don't rent, and apparently she fell. Someone, I don't know who, called 911, sent the ambulance, so Warva picked her up and took her to Gifford, and I'm assuming that perhaps maybe they called someone from Clara Martin, and she was perhaps given some, you know, attention that was needed. But when people see this, I just want you to know there was a lot that the deputy offered to assist with and tried to get somewhere before. So trespass is not, but I also have to enforce the policies of the select board, and you can't camp and live there, so.
I forget exactly where, but before Sheriff Palmer went on his training, he had picked somebody up in town and drove them
Yep,
over to Bradford
could be, yeah, yep.
to a shelter to stay. And
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's Jackson Howe, when
really-
Jackson Howe, there was an issue on Gilead, and he, with some dogs, and he offered to buy them collars and help them take, you know, hook them out and do, you know, offered, and they've offered multiple people rides to wherever they need to go. So I just want people to know that we're not policing, this is community policing, so they are trying to give people.
They do care.
They do care, and they're really trying. I mean, and Jackson went back to check on the welfare of the dogs to make sure they were fed, and did they need food, and he offered to buy it, and, you know, all that. I think he would have put them in his car and just rode around with them all day, the dogs. And so we did, you know, so I just want people to know it's more than just, there's some human kindness behind it. So I didn't want you to think I was just willy-nilly trespassing.
Do you have the Bethel Recreation minutes?
No.
No, they just came after the packet was already done. After, we didn't,
You haven't done the May one.
I thought they got it last time.
No, because you didn't have a meeting.
Oh, okay,
We
then.
had the Conservation Committee, we had.
I'll have to ask Alice, I don't know, because some just came, or she just printed some out.
Yeah, that's the.
And she said, do you want to put them in? And I said, no, because the packet's already been
June
printed.
one. That's the June one.
Oh, all right.
You've never done the May one
I don't know.
because you only had one meeting. So
Yeah, huh,
You
and
might, I do.
Whose office do they get, whose email do
they
they
should
get?
probably go to
sent
Alice's.
Yeah.
And she was having some emails, but I'll ask her.
Yeah,
May,
because
Rec-
next meeting, you might want to do the May and the June.
yeah, sure.
Sure will.
No problem. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't realize.
Because you,
I know,
it usually comes
it
the
does.
second
You're right.
meeting of the month.
It does.
Didn't have the second.
And they took a little sabbatical, so yeah.
We had a vacation.
There you go. So, also in here are the financials. I tried to write you some notes, but if anybody has any questions, certainly ask away.
What is the sludge removal from the septic? Is that something you hire out? or-
Yeah, Dimick's actually does it, and we actually have to pay, it's hauled to Montpelier, and we have to pay to have it done, and it's kind of we always have budgeted extra money there because you never know, and Dimick's likes it a little bit, we'll use the term less brownie-like, then, you know, they like it a little thinner, so they maybe haul more often than we would have in the past using a prior hauler, but sometimes it's because of the bacteria and the way that it works is we've actually had, I remember Tim was still alive, and something in the mix changed, and all of a sudden you had to start hauling, and he was buying this thing, and he just kept, Phil a menace, Phil's a menace. That's all I can remember Tim saying, Phil is a menace, and it was switching the bacterial makeup of the sewer sludge, so that we do hire it out, and then we pay for the pumping fees from Montpelier.
Do it ourselves, I remember.
We used to be able to,
Factor the spreader.
and yes, and the state put the kibosh to that.
Too
Yeah,
many tomato plants.
yeah, so,
My brother-in-law used to have that.
so that's what it's for, so that's why we kind of hedge our bet a little bit there, because it's not cheap, so if you miss it, and some years you do more, and it kind of depends when you catch it, but Richard did say you'd be doing some more sludge removal. And I did write to the state, because they only paid us like half of our tower lease, and I wrote to someone and they got back to me and they were like, oh, we're so sorry, is it just these months? I'm like, no, we owe 6 months, and so I haven't heard, so I expect we'll see a check in the mail, but, so yeah, so there's just a couple of notes, like I said, I tried to make on here. The audit is overspent, obviously, but we needed to have a single audit, and that's usually around 10 grand. Whether or not we need a single audit next year is, I don't know, between God and FEMA at this point. I don't know. Every time you get federal money, it's great, but it comes, sometimes you have to have a single audit if it pushes you over spending over a certain amount each year. So, but anyway, so if you have questions on financials, otherwise it looks like you're rolling into the end of the year in a really good spot. You know, sewer, water, everybody's really managed their budgets really well. The fire department is, I met with them, they're just ordering some radios. I have Johnson Controls coming in to do a repair, to update their panel. So at our last fire officers meeting that I went to, they started ordering some stuff near the end of the year, and they just have to get comfortable with the budget, and they're going to roll into another budget that they also didn't make. So in the fall, I'll be able to sit down and talk to them. So, but everybody's budgets, the highway budget's coming in. As you can see, he bought a piece of equipment. We have a wheeled excavator now, and so we traded a piece of equipment and bought that, but all within his existing budget. So AJ's done a really great job managing his budget. He bought that, and as well as is having more gravel sent and our way, and has done a nice job managing that budget. So I think that overall, the town looks really good. I don't expect at this moment any big red flags or overspending or anything, you know.
Is there some wood to knock on?
Wood to knock on, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty, anal
I'm
about
thinking
budgets and making sure
I'm thinking
people.
FEMA.
And making sure people, well, even if it's FEMA, it'll roll out of this. And Sugar Hill is going to be starting construction soon. Pinello's obviously underway. And so, Lord willing, by the end of 2025, we will have our last 2 FEMA projects done. So.
Perfect.
Sugar Hill's gonna go, really? It's getting late, you know?
Yeah, but I just talked to the engineer today. He's got all of his submittals in, and it's supposed to be done by September 2nd, but I did just tonight, whatever time it was, I don't know. I wrote to Kim Kanarecki at the state and asked for an extension to November 30th, just to hedge my bets. And they've ordered the precast and everything like that, but that could be lagging a little bit, so I just wrote to her tonight. I'm not gonna tell the contractor that, but yeah, it's gotta get done, because you can only extend so long before FEMA won't give you any money. So Pinella's gonna be fine. They're seemingly going gangbusters. I haven't even gone by. I figured you're looking at it, and Slavko's looking at it, and AJ drives by. I figured, you know what? They don't need me up there poking around. So yeah.
You want to make some money for the town, you can sit in the bushes and write tickets out for people that run the red light.
Yeah, no doubt. But, so I mean, I think that you're gonna end fiscally at the end of the year in a good spot.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's good.
Any other business to come before the board?
I came tonight just to let you know.
Yeah,
You know the budget I have on the water man.
yes,
I'm just making, there's not gonna be any more added to it.
yeah,
I don't know what to do about it. If you're gonna turn the water off on me, sell my old home, and
no, yeah.
I'm 93 in 2 months, I'm hoping to stay there.
Absolutely. And,
I don't, and then I can't.
yeah. I know, and this is definitely a conversation we've had with not just you, but it's certainly something I think about when we're doing this. But certainly, when you call the office, there's other options. Obviously, food shelf.
I'm sitting on my phone trying to find.
No.
It's ridiculous, I'm overpaying already.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna.
I'm getting one person in my trailer.
I know.
Just me.
I know.
And I'm overpaying already, so you've got the money for the next year for your pay.
Yep. Yeah.
My check's the same.
Yep.
The third of every month, and it has been for some years.
Yes. I know.
I just don't have the extra to budget.
Yep. Yeah.
I'll budget all I can budget.
Yeah. Well, let me do a little looking around and see. I know obviously we've used Capstone, we've used other people, but sometimes the state runs a program which makes sense. Yeah.
For paying what I,
And you've been doing a great job. It's worked out very well.
to work in.
Yeah. I know.
So I can manage it.
Yeah.
But when they keep adding this and adding that,
I know.
my check don't give a damn.
Yeah.
It's the state.
Yeah, no, I know. And the state was running a program, and I think it was specifically designed for seniors. And I need to find out if they've continued to fund it or not, because you're right. I mean, our expenses go up, your expenses go up, but your social security check isn't going up that much, or your insurances.
Executive session.
Well, hopefully not, but overall, no, hopefully not with the taxes, that the tax rate will come down. But let me take a little look, let's look around, I'll look and see what there is for other funding and to see if there is anything that we can do. So you don't need to make any calls. I'll talk to Dietrich tomorrow, we'll do a little looking around and see, maybe there's something that the state's offering for more seniors and we can get that information out to people. I know, yes. Yeah.
It's at the end of it.
Oh, I know where you live. We'll set, yeah, tell Richard, yeah. So, so don't worry about, but, yeah, but let me take a look.
So it's at the back of the printed one.
Well, I'd also heard about your rent increase at the park and this and that, because I talked to Paul Valley, so let me look around and see what we have for options out there. All right. It was nice to see you. I was surprised you were here. Is this past your bedtime? Is it past your bedtime? Yeah, oh, good, see?
And
See, she stays up later than you.
for future notice, Ann, when we have public comment, that's
Barbara.
when you can talk about it. So if you don't want to, you don't have to wait to the end. So, and I figured you had, right, and I figured you had a piece of paper. I should have just, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
No.
should have gone over and whispered in your ear.
She's not the only one.
No, I know.
Right.
She lives alone too.
I
I
live
know.
alone too.
Yeah. No,
Like our lot rent went up,
I heard.
taxes are gonna go up.
Well, hopefully your taxes don't. Yeah, yeah.
But our
Yep,
water
yep.
and sewer.
We're gonna go up. I know.
I live alone too, so.
I know. I
Now,
know.
do you two file income tax so that you can do the homestead? Because some
Yeah.
seniors don't file taxes because they don't.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the prebate, but making sure you.
I could use.
Right, exactly. Yeah. All right, well, let me take a peek and see if they started funding that program. But no, I was aware of the issue. Paul Valley came in and told me, so I knew that that was an, you know, an issue going in. So we'll look around and see if there's something we can do.
No, I don't like to mention it to Richard because I know what he does.
Oh, he's such a good egg. He's great, isn't he?
He's one year too, so.
Huh?
I don't know what I would have done without him at my husband.
I know, he's the greatest. Yes, her grandson is the chief water sewer operator. All around good egg. Well, thank you for coming. It was nice to see you ladies.
We'll go downstairs and if we adjourn. So then we
Okay.
can get all this cleaned up and we can just go down there.
I know. Yeah. No.
I just wouldn't have it to pay, that's all.
Well, we'll see if there's something that we can, let me just look around. So, all right, I'll see what I can do for the park in general.
All right, if we don't
You
have
sure
any-
you're not going to the bar for a drink?
It's not open, it's Monday.
Oh, good, okay.
It's not open on Monday, they know that.
There you go, good for
They
you.
know that, it's not open on Monday.
That's funny.
If we have nothing else, we will motion to adjourn and then we'll go into executive session downstairs.
Yep, take care.
Motion to adjourn.
Or no, you don't adjourn, nope, you don't adjourn, you just make a motion to go into executive session.
Oh, okay.
Just,
Motion to go into executive session.
there you go.
At 8:57.